ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم فقهنا في الدين رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا عزيز يا غفار. Dear viewers, assalamu alaikum and welcome back to our Tafseer class. We have taken a long break because it was summer, because things were going a little bit slow. So we took a break from that, but now alhamdulillah that we have restarted it, and we're going to restart from Surah Imran. And if any of you would like to follow and you're new to the class, you're just joining, there are almost 43 videos that we had recorded before the break, and you can go into that and you can follow up what we are doing over here. So for the new people who are not part of the class, we would like to inform you that this class used to happen on site, and we started with Fatiha, we did Al-Baqarah, and when we were quite in the middle of Al-Baqarah, then the pandemic started and everything went closed. We had to close on everything, and this is why we went online. So for the whole year of 2020, we recorded all the episodes online. It was on YouTube, and you can follow that. And now then we went to a break for a longer time, and now we are back. So this is so if you go to YouTube and you see some videos missing, this is why it is. But now we are restarting with a different kind of a format. Many students from the class who were part of the class are now on Zoom with me as well. And some of you are also watching it on YouTube, and then many of you will watch the recording, inshallah. So, but what will happen is after we're done with the YouTube recording, we will engage in an interactive session of question and answers. And if you want to be part of that, you can join our WhatsApp group, and you can become part of that as well, because our Zoom links are posted over there. So inshallah, with this introduction, the format of the class is going to be that for the first 30 to 40 minutes, we will do the explanation of the verses, the word-to-word meaning and the explanation of the verses, and then after that, we will go offline from YouTube, and on the Zoom platform, we will engage in a healthy and very fruitful exchange of thoughts on the verses, because we not only learn from the teacher, but we also learn from each other, and this is the way of learning that we are trying to implement over here. So inshallah, coming to the ayah of the day. So today we are going to be doing ayah 64, verse number 64 of Surah Imran. This is a very famous verse. You have seen many ulama, many scholars quote this, because this is the verse about dawah, calling to the message of Allah Ta'ala. That is an obligation upon all Muslims. It is a collective duty that we all share, and this is one of the sunnahs of the Prophet ﷺ that he never ever abandoned. This is the sunnah of calling people to Allah Ta'ala. The day he started and the day he kind of ended with his mission for 23 years, this is the sunnah that he kept on upholding, and this is why this verse is so significant, and this is why we will be doing only one verse today, because it entails a lot of explanation. In addition to that, we are American Muslims. We live in the West, and we will also discuss this verse of the Quran in relationship to that our living in the West, and how we can practice the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in a place, in a country, within a nation where we are a minority. Okay? So inshallah we will delve into that, and on our Zoom platform we will also delve into exchange of thoughts into that. So starting with our verse of the today. First we will do the word-to-word meaning, and then we will go into explanation of the surah. So we will start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul, say, and as I have told you many times, Qul does not means take a stand. This should be your modus operandi. This is how you should roll, kind of a thing. So Qul means say. Ya Ya Ahlal Kitabi, O people of the book, Ta'alaw, come. Ta'alaw means come. Ila, to. Kalimatin, a word. Sawa'in, which is kind of. Sawa'in means equal, which means the same. This is an Arabic word that has many meanings. So in this very loose translation, you can understand something that is equal, something that is same. Bainana, among us, wa bainakum, and between you and us. Allah, that not, na'buda, that we worship, na'buda, we worship, illa, except Allah Ta'ala, Allah. Wala, and not, nushrika, we associate partners. That you can see over here, na'buda, na represent we, nushrika, na, again this noon represents we, na'buda, we worship, nushrika, we do not associate partners, bihi, with him, shay'an, anything. Wala, and not yattakhidha, take, ba'duna, some of us, ba'dan, others, arbaban, meaning arbaban over here means many different things. Over here it might mean lords, or arbaban also can be like means. There are many translations of this word, but over here it means arbaban means lord, mean except, from, dun, besides. Duni means besides Allah, Allah Ta'ala. Fa in, and if, then if, tawallaw, they turn away. Faqulu, and say, ashhadu, we testify, or ashhadu, I bear witness, bi anna, that we, Muslimun, ashhadu, we testify, we say kind of together, bi anna Muslimun, that we are but Muslims. So, very loose translation of this is that, say, O people of the scripture, come to a word that is equitable between us and you, that we will not worship except Allah, and not associate anything with Him, and not take one another as lords instead of Allah. But if they turn away, then say, bear witness that we are Muslims. So in this verse, you can say that Allah Ta'ala is asking us, because dear viewers, we had briefly discussed this in previous episodes, but over here we will, just a reminder, Surah Al-Baqarah was talking mostly to the Jews of that time. And Surah Imran is now talking to the Christians, because if you remember, and if many of you are following the class, or you can go visit the previous episodes, and you will see before this we had studied in great detail about a Christian group that came from Najran to the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ, and they engaged in an interfaith dialogue. So over here we also see that this surah is mostly talking to the people of the book who are Christians. And so the Baqarah was also talking to people of the book who were Jews of the Medina of that time, in that, because Baqarah is a Madani surah. Over here, Allah Ta'ala is telling us to call them, that when we do da'wah to them, when we want that we worship Allah Ta'ala and that we do not associate partners with Him. But then, if you look at the end of the surah, when Allah Ta'ala is saying, فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا, but if they turn away, فَقُولُوا, then say, أَشْهَدُ بِأَنَّ مُسْلِمُونَ, then how do you end that? If they don't want to respond, to your call, then what you do is, do not go into these kinds of things that we are fighting with them on these matters or things like that. What we do then is, in this verse, Allah Ta'ala is telling us, then tell them, restate your deen to them, and then, turn away. فَقُولُوا أَشْهَدُ بِأَنَّ مُسْلِمُونَ, then tell them, restate your deen to them, and that's the end of it. Okay? So now, this is a verse of the Quran that is telling us the obligation of da'wah, and then how to do that. Inshallah, so we will now go into some of the details. We have PowerPoint presentation that I will share with you, and then we will go into point by point into how we can do that. Okay. Here it is. Now, let me load the word over here, and then we can go on. Okay, I think this picture, sometimes, how they say, The picture has 1,000 words, so this is why I put this picture over here, because it really represents a very Western background, Dawah and activism, Islam and Muslims in America. So let's talk about that a little bit. So dear viewers, when we are talking about Dawah, what it is, how should we do it, what kind of things that we should stay away from, and what is the terminology especially that we should be using when we are engaging in these kinds of dialogues are going to be some of the points that we will talk about. So first of all, let's start with this. Okay. Conveying the message of God verbally through dawah and letting our actions speak louder than our words through khidmah. This is our modus operandi for dawah, for conveying the message of Islam. Two things we are talking about over here: conveying the message of God verbally through dawah, meaning through speech, that we through preaching, through speaking, through engaging in dialogue, things like that. This is dawah, and then letting our actions speak louder than our words in khidmah and the service. So dear viewers, understand two things over here. At the base of these two activities, that calling them to the path of Allah through speech, through preaching, through interfaith dialogue, these kinds of things, and through khidmah, what is intended? What is intended is the goodness of the people. What is intended is that we care about them, the interest of the people. And dear viewers, do remember that when Prophet ﷺ stood up for the first time to call people to the message of Islam, he referenced to them what they knew about him. He referenced to them that they know him already as what? Sadiq and Al-Amin. He referenced to them already what they knew about him, that he cared about the community. If you go into the Sirah, you will see the event of Halful Fudul, where the Prophet joined this organization in Makkah that worked for the benefit of the people. Right? So conveying the message of God through either we are doing it verbally through dawah or we are doing it through khidmah. What is intended? Number one, the intention should be the goodness of the people, the interest of the people, the welfare of the people at the heart of it, because this is what Prophet ﷺ also did. When he stood up to give the message of Islam, this is how he referenced himself to the people. And people, why they gathered? When he stood up on the mountain and he called all of them, why did they come? Because they knew him as a person who cared for them. And then what he said to them, he said, I care for your welfare in this world, and I want also to care for your welfare in the next world. You will just imagine that. If we are really caring for the welfare of the people, and we as Muslims have this firm belief that this life is not the only life. Actually, this life is actually a life for the akhirah. We're going to live this life for the life of akhirah. This dunya is for akhirah. Why? Because this is the dunya where we can do good, where we can be good to have a good life in the akhirah. This is what we believe, right? So how can, as Muslims, we care for the welfare of the people in this world and not care for their welfare, for their good, for their interest in the next world, when we know that both these lives are connected? How can we be doing like this then? This cannot be the case. If we care about them in this world, we will definitely care about them for the next world as well. Because why? Because these things are related. This is what Prophet ﷺ did. And look at that. The next point that I put over here is, before Islam, he was Al-Sadiq and Al-Amin. Al-Sadiq means the truthful. Al-Amin means the most honest one. And here just one point I will mention over here, Al-Sadiq. If you go into the history, you will know that one thing that Arabian society was known for, they were known for their sin. Even though they had many vices, they had many problems going on, but one thing is for sure, they were not liars. One thing was known about that community: the worst of the worst in the community would not lie. And in a community like that, why would they give a title of Al-Sadiq to Prophet ﷺ? Why? You know why? Because he would stand up for the justice. Because he would stand up for the rights of the people. He would stand up for the right and the justice for those kinds of people in the society to whom no one will listen to. The this is why this title, and I mean the most honest thing about that. So just imagine that before Islam, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was al-Sadiq and al-Amin, and after he became a prophet, he was Rahmatul lil Alameen, a mercy to the world. He was not merely a mercy to Arabs or even to Muslims or even to humanity, but a mercy to the world. This is the sunnah that we need to follow when we go into, calling people to Islam, or, the service and the khidmah that we do. We are not here only for a group of people. We have to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and he was Rahmatul lil Alameen. He was a mercy to the world. Just imagine that for a little while. Just understand that, the magnanimity of this obligation and what this is calling us to. As his followers, we have to kindle that desire in ourselves to be like him and seek to continue his impact on the world around us, so that people come to know him through us. Dear viewers, we came to know Allah through him. And he is the one who brought to us the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He brought to us the knowledge of the Quran. But if people don't know him, how will they know the message? It's going to be difficult, and in our times, dear viewers, we keep seeing that. This kind of movements come up to defame Prophet, right? And what's going to happen because of that? If the personality who brought to us the message of Allah, and through him we know Allah and we know the Quran, if his personality is defamed, people will never come to the message. And instead of yes, we become very upset when such kind of things come, the cartoons, the movies, and the things like that. But the best way to fight against that is that we become the examples. We become the people of the Sunnah, that people see us and they say, no, this cannot be true. Look at the followers of Muhammad, how they are. So he says, as they come to know people, so why? To continue his impact on the world around us, so that people come to know him through us, as they came to know Allah through him. And I also put over here the link that this is one of the articles on Yaqeen that I took a lot of points from, and I want to give credit to them. And if you want to go in more details of that, you can also visit this article over there, and you can also go to the details of that. So now we understand what is the obligation of dawah and what it entails. Okay, next point. Next time, now when we understand that dawah is an obligation, it's a collective responsibility. Some of us will engage in dawah, a verbal dawah, and some of us will engage in service, in khidmah, and all of that. But where should we start? How should we start? So first of all, we have to understand it. We have to understand the process. We have to understand the society around us at a basic level. So where should we start from? We must start with the recognition of what good and evil are according to our traditions. Dear viewers, we live in a society. The society has good and bad, vice, and there are virtues and there are vices all around us. So first of all, we have to look at them and understand them according to what Islam has taught us. We have to understand the society according to the teachings of Islam. Of course, there are many different levels of morality in a society. The society that we live in is not a Muslim society, and their morals are very different from the moral teachings of Islam. First of all, we have to understand the issues of the society according to the teachings of Islam. Okay? Now, the next thing we have to understand is that religion is on the decline in America today. Why? It's not just one religion. It's not only Islam that is always attacked. Yes, this is the truth, that Islam is attacked more than any other religion, but religion in general, all religions are on decline in America. Why? Number one, many corruptions are present in religious institutions in many different religions, and this is why people move away from that. Secondly, the issue is that it's not that there is atheism, a lot of people are atheists. No. If you look at the percentage of atheism in America, it's still very low. Yes, it's on the rise. Many people are, becoming like agnostics and atheists, but still, the percentage of people who believe in a religion is much higher. But the issue is that Why is it on a decline? Why people have put religion in a separate space? Why? Because many people think that, including Muslims, that religion is not relevant anymore. Religion has no solution for the ills of the society that we live in. This is one of the things that is because, and I put the point over here, the greatest threat to religion is stagnation and not refutation. Yes, there are people who refute and say, this is the reason, this is the reason, this is the reason there is no God. That's not the real problem. The real and the main issue is stagnation, because people think the religions do not have a very good kind of solution or very relevant solutions to the problems of the today. And this is the real thing, is the real problem. Even our Muslim people think like that. Many so-called progressive Muslims will say, yes, but this is the 21st century, and what does Islam have to say about this and this and this? We have to live like that, and things like that. So I put this hadith over here. An-Nu'man ibn Bashir reported from the Prophet ﷺ, and this is a beautiful parable that we can learn from. And Prophet ﷺ said, the parable of those who respect the limits of Allah and those who violate them is that of a people who board a ship after casting lots. So just imagine there's a boat. The boat has two levels. It's kind of a ship. The ship has two levels, and the people are on that ship. Some of them residing in its upper deck and other in its lower deck. Now just imagine some of the people are on the basic floor, or what do you say, the lower deck, and some of the people are on the upper deck. Okay? When those in the lower deck want water, they pass by the upper deck and say, if we tear a hole in the bottom of the ship, we will not harm those above us. Just imagine the ship is in the water, and the people in the lower deck are now facing an issue that they don't have water. So what do they say? They say, okay, you know what? We're not going to disturb the people in the upper deck. What we're going to do is we're going to make a hole in the lower deck, and the water will come, and we're not going to bother. But what will happen, dear viewers? One hole in the lower deck, everyone drowns, right? So they say, if we tear a hole in the bottom of the ship, we will not harm those above us. If those in the upper deck let them do what they want, then they will all be destroyed together. If the people do not stop them, they will all fall and be failures. But if they stop them, they will all be saved. So yes, one thing that we learn from the hadith is that all of us have the responsibility of enjoining good and forbidding evil. We have to stop the evil in the society collectively, but this also tells us that if we do not provide the right solutions to the problem, for example, they have a problem, they don't have water. So if the right solution is not provided, people will look towards the wrong side for the solution. And what's going to happen then? Everyone will drown. The case of feminism today. All of us talk about that, and we say feminism is wrong. Some of us say, no, Islam is a very feminist religion. It stands up for the women. Some of us say, no, feminism is wrong. Things like that. We debate, but the issue is this. There is a problem. We agree with feminism in this regard. There is a problem. There is a problem in the community. There is a problem in also the Muslim societies about the role of the women. There are injustices going on. And if we are not going to provide solutions from Islam, then people are going to look somewhere else. So we can say all we want that feminism is wrong and this is right, and yes, of course, it's a very biased opinion, but we have to agree on two things. There is a problem. And if you're not going to provide solutions in the right way from the religion, and everyone is going to stay quiet, then the nature of a human being is that they look for solutions. People don't want to stay in a problem for a longer time, and Allah Ta'ala has given us this kind of, innate nature that we look for solutions. So if you're not going to provide solutions the right way, then people will look towards the wrong way, and no one can do that. So this is one thing. If we really want, but if, for example, living in a society All these issues, the zulm is going on around us, and we do not come up as Muslims, as the followers of the Prophet ﷺ. We don't feel an obligation to do something about it, and then people find a wrong solution, we all are running with it, right? So this is what the hadith is over here is saying to us. Okay, effective dawah. So now we understand that where should we start. Now when we have started, what is a form of effective dawah? Number one, truth. Whatever we say, we don't change the message of Islam to please anyone. That is going to be important. Whether someone likes it or not, the truth will be said. Because this is not a word of any human being. Quran is the word of Allah Ta'ala, and this is the truth. Okay, so the truth is Quran. In the Quran, Allah Ta'ala says, O you who believe, be conscious of Allah and speak words of clear truth. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qulu qawlan sadida. So, as you can see, Allah Ta'ala is saying, whatever the case is, say the truth. The truth has to be said. Don't twist it. Don't cover it to please anyone, because it will only lead into more problems. Viewers, I will say something over here. Sometimes we think that what my mind is thinking, and I follow what my mind is saying as compared to what Allah Ta'ala is saying. So I think, what, this is okay, but I think at this point I can do this and change that. Maybe you will solve one issue that is right in front of you, but it will give rise to 10 more. That's going to happen. But if we follow the commands of Allah Ta'ala, even when we are not understanding them at that point, believe it or not, many issues will be solved. So the first thing is the truth. Never ever change the truth to please anyone. When we are doing dawah, we are doing khidmah, we are calling worldly, we are doing it through service, always say the truth, the way it is. Second, how do you say the truth? Wise and beautiful. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and beautiful preaching, and argue with them in a way that is best. Indeed, your Lord is most knowing of who has strayed from his way, and he is most knowing of who is rightly guided. So then the next thing is that we say it in the best manner possible. We say it in the best way possible. We can frame the truth. We can say, we have to say the truth, but in the best way possible. And then in the next two verses, you will see the examples of what is the best way of doing that. And then, one of the things that we see in the Quran is that Musa alayhi salam is going to Fir'aun to preach to him the message of Allah Ta'ala, to preach to him the truth. And this is how Allah Ta'ala teaches them the etiquette and manners of preaching. Allah Ta'ala says to him, and speak to him with gentle speech, that perhaps he may be reminded or fear his Lord. Or he may be reminded or fear his Lord. So, qawlun layyina. Allah Ta'ala says, qawlun layyina, that talk to him in a soft manner. Because why, dear viewers? Because when we talk, even the truth, even what we are saying is the truth, but our style of saying is harsh, we're only going to invoke the ego of that person. And then his ego is going to become a block between you and him. Right? Because when we are not talking to people in soft manners, and then even when we're saying the right thing in a harsh tone, we only speak to the ego. And then the ego becomes a roadblock. Then nothing will go through, and only what will come is ego, and how dare you speak to me like that, and look at your tone, and the truth is going to be like, just fade away somewhere. Even another verse in the Quran. So by the mercy of Allah, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you were lenient with them. And if you had been rude in speech and harsh in heart, they would have distanced from around you. Allah Ta'ala is praising Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for his lenient and soft manner. Dear viewers, it is no secret. Again, we keep saying that, but it's never becomes old. Michael Hart's book. Prophet ﷺ is mentioned as number one, as the most successful person in history who brought about the change in society, who brought this huge change in a society. Why? This is the reason. His manner, he was lenient with people. He was willing to let go of their mistakes. He was willing to look the other way when people would make mistakes. And this is why people loved him. This is why people were always around him. They wanted to listen to him. They wanted to pay attention to what he was saying, because his lenient manner, was not invoking their egos but their hearts. And that's the way. Even your viewers, I tell you, even if you're speaking to your family members, you want to give them an advice. You are talking to your employees, your students, community members, anyone. Believe it or not, if you're lenient, if you're soft, people will be more willing to listen to you as compared with your heart. Yes, I understand there are certain instances, there are certain situations in life that we have to be stern. Sometimes when we're doing the tarbiyah of our children, there are points where we have to be, but that is an exception, not the rule. The rule is that you're lenient. Allah is saying to Prophet, so by the mercy of Allah, O Muhammad, you are lenient with them, and if you had been rude in speech and harsh in heart, they would have disbanded from around you. And then Allah Ta'ala said, Idfa billati hiya ahsan, and not equal are the good deed and the bad. Repel evil by that deed which is better, and thereupon the one whom between you and him is enmity will become as though he was a devoted friend. This is another rule from the Quran that we learn. So, what is the logical conclusion from all of this? The logical conclusion of harsh or insulting speech is the exchange of insults and further polarization that makes it hard for the message to be heard, and at times invite rudeness in return that does not respect that you consider figure. Sometimes, it might happen that we are involved in a dialogue process, we're involved in a dialogue, we're rude. So then what will happen in return is also rudeness. They might say something that is disrespectful to what we hold sacred, and that can further polarize us. So yes, be soft, be lenient, be kind. The next is terminology. This is important here, because this is one thing that I have seen over and over, people making mistakes, this kind of a tribalism, this tribal word that we hear. Terms like, I'm a progressive, I'm a conservative, I'm centrist, I'm moderate, I'm liberal. So believe it or not, many Muslims are also like, I'm a liberal Muslim. This is a liberal masjid, this is a conservative masjid. We are moderate Muslims. We don't need to do that. Islam is one and the same, and it's complete. It is not in need of any of these terms. You know why? Because these terms are very tribal in nature. These are the names of the tribes in America. And these tribes in America are no different from the tribes in Arabia that we read the history of. You know how we read the history and we know that there was this tribal mentality, the tribes used to fight with one another. These are the names of tribes in the West, in America. Conservative tribe, liberal tribe, and we see how they fight with each other during elections, during the politics, right? It's the same thing. Those were the tribes in Arabia, these are the tribes in America. Let's not become part of this. We know that Prophet ﷺ, this was one of the things that he trained his Sahaba, was to be away from this tribal mentality, because this tribalism fractures the society. So, and sometimes we say, feminist Islam, or moderate Islam, or liberal Islam, the thing is that we are reducing it. We are reducing it. We are making it part of that tribe. Islam is not part of any tribe. Islam is complete. It doesn't need these labels, and these are the names of the tribes in Europe. If you can remember this one line, these are the names of the tribes in America. Let's not become part of this. Let's take this society away from tribalism. That was one of the legacy of the Prophet. That is one of the sunnah. This is one of the facets of tarbiyah that he did to his Sahaba, that he took them away from tribalism. Okay. Next thing, the prophetic call. Now we will go through this, and then we are coming to the end of the presentation. So now, at the end, let's discuss the way the prophetic call went. When Prophet ﷺ would do dawah, how would he do that? Or the ayahs of the Quran that came, because the Quran was his tool how would they come and how did that happen? So number one, the prophetic call, the dawah of the Prophet ﷺ would always begin with monotheism. Tawheed. There is one God. It's unlike any of his creation. Right? So dawah always begins with monotheism, always begins with Tawheed. Then came verses that spoke more specifically about dhulm to others, badly. So if you look at the verses, the verses in the 30th juz, and these are the verses, these are the ayahs, these are the verses of the Quran, these are the surahs of the Quran that came earlier. There are more Makkah, right? And if you see a theme in them, Allah Ta'ala is stopping the people from doing dhulm, badly, because you will see in their give food to the yatim. Don't kill one another. This kind of a thing, because that society was rift with dhulm. There's dhulm on one another that they used to do. So how Rasulullah doing the dawah? First, he told them about Tawheed, took them away from shirk. And second thing, and these are most of the Makkah surahs, is that don't do dhulm. Dhulm on other people. And then along the way, the Prophet was telling them about this, about dhulm. Along the way, the belief and longing for the hereafter were being solidified in their hearts. So, and then you also see in the earlier verses, personal tarbiyah is going on. So, Makkan surahs are more about personal, tarbiyah, and the Madinan surahs are more about community building. So, along the way, when the Makkan surah is talking about the Tawheed, Makkan surah are talking about the Akhirah, there's also, going on, it is talking about stopping the dhulm. They're also very strongly talking about belief and longing for the hereafter. Why? Because, the dhulm that they would do on their self would be from the desire, from the nafs. And the dhulm that they would do on other people would be from what? From greed and takabbur and pride. So, in order to stop the dhulm, what they had to do, they had to overcome their desires. They have to overcome their nafs. And dear viewers, you all know that. The way to overcome our nafs is to think about the Akhirah, to long for the Akhirah, to understand that this dunya, if I step on my nafs over here, that is where, because this is the reward for that. So for them, this is how the training was going on. This is how the message was going on. They were stopped from doing dhulm on others because of their pride, because of their greed, and they were also stopped from doing dhulm on themselves, the dhulm of shirk, the dhulm of following their desires. And what was the technique for that? Give them this thing about the hereafter. Because this is this is why people are going to step on their nafs, and then because the longing of the hereafter, the akhirah, is that, is that kind of a concept that will change people. So we understand that. So the longing for the hereafter were being solidified in their hearts, so that when the other forms of dhulm that fell under self-harm are prohibited, they were ready to make the personal commitments and sacrifices that they were being called to. Now, Aisha mentioned this hadith. He said, if the first thing to be revealed was do not drink alcoholic drinks, people would have said, we will never leave alcoholic drinks. Why? Because their nafs were not trained yet. Because their nafs were trained with belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and belief in the Akhirah. And if there had been revealed, do not commit illegal sexual intercourse, they would have said, we will never give up illegal sexual intercourse, but Allah revealed the Mufassil surahs until faith was settled in their heart. What was going on over here? They were trained, their nafs was trained. And how the nafs was trained? Believing in the hereafter. This is why Makkan surahs are mostly about Tawheed and Akhirah, Tawheed and Akhirah, because personal training is going on. Human beings are being erected and constructed. Okay, now the last thing I will cover over here is this one, because when we talk about dawah in the West, when we talk about spreading Islam in the West and talking about that, one thing that comes up always is political engagement. My dear viewers, politics is something that runs America. We know that. This famous philosopher by the name of Aristotle, he said, the basic science is politics and all other sciences are run by it, meaning politics is that kind of a thing that influences everything. So, of course, we are not saying that the dawah should only be in this regard. No, dawah is much bigger than that, but it also entails this. So we have to be part of that. I do know that there are many Muslims who think that being part of American politics is not allowed. We should not put votes. All these people are like this. Of course they are. But what is the lesser evil? So over here, I put this over here. Engaging society versus how we engage government. So in regards to society, we just talked about it. We lead the way in good, meaning we talk about the zulm in the society. What kind of zulm are present in the Western society? Racism is there, right? Capitalism is there because everything is a money game. Everything is becoming a money game. Progress, progress, progress. In the name of progress, it has become like a greed race. We talk against that. Racism is here. When people are marginalized, who is going to talk about them? So yes, we lead the way in that. Challenge evil in all of its forms, either through political action or beautiful preaching, and demonstrate people power through healthy coalition building. We build bridges with people of other faith. We build bridges with the leadership of the community. We do that. When it comes to government, we hold it to justice. Redirect crushing power to benevolence and focus on economic justice. So some of us will have to do this kind of work. That when we see the government say something or do some kind of a thing that is unjust, we speak up in the best way possible. Because this is what Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah has said. He said, God will establish a just nation, even if it is a disbelieving one, and will destroy an unjust nation, even if it is a believing one. This is Ibn Taymiyyah has maybe summarized the whole history of the world in just this one sentence, but this is the truth. This is what justice is. Even the people who are believing are unjust, Allah Ta'ala will destroy them. You just have to look at the history of Muslims in the world. This is what happened. When they became unjust, they were destroyed and the power was given to other people. So with that, dear viewers, we conclude. I hope we have understood the words in the best way possible. You can always revisit this classes on YouTube. You can come back, take notes, and do this. And inshallah, we will see you all next week with the next verse of Surah Al-Imran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون والذين هم عن اللغو معرضون والذين هم للزكاة فاعلون والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون إلا على أزواجهم أو ما ملكت أيمانهم فإنهم غير ملومين